Will Prince Harry see his family during his trip to the UK?
And good news, really good news about the Princess of Wales.
Hello and welcome to Airs and Spares, the show where we bring you insight and opinion into the lives of two rather famous royal couples on both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex here in California.
And I'm Katie Nichol, and I'll have all the latest news from the Prince and Princess of Wales here in the UK. And as I said, Kinsey, it's really nice to start the show with some positive news. We know that the Princess of Wales has been spotted since finishing her course of preventative chemotherapy. We saw her up in Scotland for a church service just a few days ago. She went up and had a long weekend with Prince William. But she's also had two meetings. The most recent meeting was at Windsor Castle, and all about her very exciting carol concert, which is going to be happening in December. And I think it's a really positive sign that we've got the Princess of Wales attending these meetings. We were given guidance by the palace that she intends to be at the Cenotaph in November. We know we're going to see her for that, as long as she is feeling up to it. She very much wants to be there to support the king and the royal family. And this carol concert is something that she has done now for 4 years. It's the whole theme is about bringing people together. And for her, it's about bringing some of her and William's charities and representatives and people who have helped to serve the community together for this really lovely carol concert, which takes place at Westminster Abbey, which is, of course, very special to William and Kate because it's where they got married. We've become used to seeing not just the couple there, but their young brood as well. Last time they took all three children. I'm hearing rumours that that's going to be the plan for this year as well. It's very much a family occasion. You'll see the Middletons there as well. And this has really become very much an annual fixture in the princess's diary. So I wasn't surprised to see that she'd attended a meeting for it. I mean, I would expect her to be doing that because Christmas is actually not that far away. But two meetings in 1 week. The first one was to do with the Early Childhood Foundation. I just think Kinsey sends out a really positive message, actually, that she's feeling well enough to host these meetings. Of course, she could be doing it in Zoom, but she's not. She's there in person and she's hosting these meetings. And of course, they're being recorded in the court circular, which is a list of official events carried out by members of the royal family. And it's just so nice to see her name back on the court circular, isn't it?
Well, let me just tell you, you're absolutely right about Christmas being, just around the corner, because I've already started threatening my nephews with Santa Claus is watching. I'm going to tell Father Christmas. I'm already all over that. So you're right.
You haven't even got to Halloween or Thanksgiving yet,
Yeah,
Kinsey.
I know, I know. I wanted to ask you because you just mentioned how the Middleton family will be there. I've seen what I believe is some unfair commentary about Catherine and William's video announcing that she was no longer going to be pursuing chemotherapy because she was temporarily, in the clear. They're still going to be watching what's to come, and they're still cautious about everything. But I'm seeing unfair criticism that while the palace has reported that the cancer diagnoses for both the king and Catherine brought them together, that it was there was some sort of sinister meaning behind the fact that the king was not featured in their video. I completely disagree. Perhaps he just wasn't comfortable with it. Perhaps their schedules didn't line up. Do you have an opinion on that commentary that has been happening over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not surprising that the king wasn't in the video. I think this was very much Catherine's message to the nation. Um, Her parents have been there every step of the way and very much behind the scenes, and they're sort of keeping the family together. So I was surprised to see the Middletons in it, actually. I would have thought that Kate might just have kept it to her, William, and three children. I thought it was lovely that the Middletons were in it, but I don't think we should read too much into the fact that the king wasn't. I think there is clearly a closeness between the two of them. I mean, I was told that, in fact, when I mentioned earlier, didn't I, that William and Catherine were seen up in Scotland together going to a church service. Now, I understand that there was a private meeting between the king and William and Catherine, just an opportunity for them to catch up while they were in Scotland. Because, of course, the king is having this extended stay up in Balmoral, to mark the anniversary of his mother's passing, a little like the late Queen used to do when she went up to Sandringham, and William and Catherine went up there without their children. And I think perhaps part of that reason was to spend some time with the king, because of course he's got this big trip coming up to Australia and Samoa. So I don't think we should read too much into it that the king wasn't in the video. I think you see enough in terms of the closeness between the king and Catherine to know that it's a really close relationship. I mean, look at the effort that she went to for Trooping the Colour to make sure she could be there for his official birthday parade. And look at that positioning. If you remember back, Kinsey, it was Catherine standing shoulder by shoulder with the king, just because she didn't choose to include him in that video. As you say, it could have been down to scheduling. The king's been in Scotland for the entire summer, and possibly it just wasn't deemed appropriate. But I don't think people should read too much into it. And I think the relationship is a very close one.
I agree with you, and thank you for saying that. Tell me about Prince William and Catherine's, alleged non-plans over the next few days when it comes to the Duke of Sussex.
Well, of course, the Duke of Sussex is here for the Well Child Awards, and I know we're going to take a bit of a deep dive into that later on in the show. It's been a while, hasn't it, since Prince Harry has been over here. This is live time. We're recording on Monday night while the Prince is attending the awards. I mean, I don't want to say something that could be wrong, but I get the feeling, Kinsey, that he's not going to be here for very long. I get the feeling this is a sort of a fleeting trip for him. I'm told that he's not planning to travel to Scotland to see his father. He's not going to be going to Windsor to see his brother or his sister-in-law. I think this is going to be a bit of an in-out trip. And of course, I can't help but think every time the Prince comes over to the UK, which isn't very often, it's an opportunity perhaps for some form of ice breaking between, if not Harry and his brother, because I think that's some way off, then Harry and his father. But that meeting doesn't seem to have taken place. Of course, the last time Prince Harry was over here was earlier this month for Lord Fellowes' funeral service, when he and William were both there, both at the same event, at the same memorial service, and no contact at all between the brothers. So it just seems to be the case that when Harry's in town, i.e. back here in the UK, back in London, it's fleeting and there's no family reunion, which is obviously a great shame.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Prince Harry in the UK right now. I mean, this is really the Katie show. You have all the players near you right now, but he is in London to attend the Well Child Awards. According to the Evening Standard, the Duke of Sussex is celebrating the achievements of resilience of seriously ill youngsters and their families during a rare visit to London. As Katie said, we're actually recording this on a Monday. You guys will be watching this likely on a Tuesday. So we're going to prepare you for what we expect to see, some of the images that we have seen in the last few hours, like Prince Harry arriving at the Hurlingham Club in Fulham ahead of the main event. Before the official ceremony, Harry is attending a reception to meet the category winners and their families before joining guests for the private award show, where he's going to present the Most Inspirational Child aged 4 to 6 award and deliver a speech. Harry said in a statement released by the charity, "I am once again honored to attend this year's Well Child Awards, celebrating the remarkable courage and achievements of children living with complex medical needs. These incredible young people, along with the dedicated caregivers, nurses, and professionals who tirelessly support them, inspire us all. It is a true privilege to recognize such extraordinary individuals." I mean, we've probably discussed this before, but this is probably one of Prince Harry's favorite campaigns. This is probably one of his favorite charities. And I know I'm going to get killed in the comment section over this, but it does remind me of Princess Diana. The way that she just naturally engaged with children, how just, sincerely passionate she was about children. And I do look at this and I think of Princess Diana. It reminds me of, Harry reminds me of Diana in this scene,
Yeah.
this position.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. He's been the patron of this charity for, I think, something like 16 years. I don't think he's ever missed a ceremony.
Really quickly, I just wanted to correct a statement made during our conversation. Prince Harry has been a patron of the Well Child charity for over 15 years and regularly does try to attend the annual award ceremony, but this is his 13th. He has actually missed some events. So this is his 13th event. He tries to attend as many as he can, but he has not attended all of them. So just wanted to beat you before you corrected us in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching.
You're right, Kinsey. I mean, he just has this remarkable knack. I mean, I've seen him interact with some of these children, these children who are so brave, who've just gone through unimaginable trauma, probably something that the prince can really relate to. I mean, on an emotional level, on a mental level, he's experienced childhood trauma. You see him get down to their level. I mean, he always turns up suited and booted, because obviously it's a black tie event, and we've seen a number of celebrities arrive in the sort of opening hour or so. Kate Garraway from Good Morning Britain, there's Mylene Klass, Charlotte Hawkins, and lots of people who I'm sure are going to be absolutely delighted to spend an evening with the Duke of Sussex. And of course he'll mingle with some of the celebrities there, but it's going to be all about the kids. He'll sort of have a wave for everyone, but he'll want to get down to their level. You see him crouching down, you see him talking to the children, to the parents, to the siblings of siblings who have to look after sick children, when they're only children themselves. And there's just so much empathy that comes out with Harry when he does this sort of work. And I just think that's Harry at his best, when he's doing that sort of work, when he's with kids, using his spotlight to really put the attention on something that's he's cared about and been very passionate about for many, many years now. But I think when you watch Harry doing this, I think even those that are not his greatest fans, it's hard to knock him when you see him doing this sort of work, because he's just such a natural at it, and he's great at it.
Well, and it's really good work, and we should be kind when somebody is making an effort to do something that is good. I mean, that to me, that's a no-brainer. I didn't realize that he had donated around $400,000 of his proceeds from the book Spare to the charity, which that did surprise me. That's a significant amount of money. You were talking about how we don't expect Prince Harry and Prince William to reunite, but Prince Harry actually wrote in Spare about the Well Child Awards back in 2019, when he was overcome with emotion during his speech at the award ceremony. He was recounting the feeling of knowing he was going to be a dad. When he cried during the speech, he said at the time, the ceremony pulls at my heartstrings in a way that I could never have understood until I had a child of my own. He writes in Spare about Prince William's reaction to his emotional display. He claims to have received a text message from William, who was in Pakistan at the time, saying, I'm quoting Spare now, "I'd become emotional in front of a room full of sick kids and their folks just after becoming a father myself. Nothing abnormal in that." He said, he's saying William said this, "I wasn't well." He said again that I needed help. I reminded him that I was doing therapy. In fact, he'd recently told me he wanted to accompany me to a session because he suspected I was being brainwashed. Now, Harry said that they had like a 72-hour argument off the back of that event, and he still sometimes looks back over those text messages that they sent each other. So I do imagine that Prince William will be heavy on his heart during this visit to the UK. I mean, do you disagree? Do you think that Prince Harry does wish that things could be different today?
I'm sure he does. I mean, the story that you've just recounted, and which Harry writes about really movingly in Spare, shows that this is a man with deep emotions, right? A man who wears his emotions on his sleeves. I mean, he really, Prince Harry is very much an open book when it comes to that. William's quite different. You see Harry often get choked up, and I remember him giving that speech, and was it Gabby Rosen? Who was it, Kinsey? Someone went up to him and put their arms around him, didn't they? Or comforted him. Yeah. Someone comforted him at the time, because they could also see how moved he was. And I think many parents will be able to empathize with what he says. When you have your own child, it changes your perspective. I mean, William's talked about that himself. William said himself how much more emotional he is over things as a father. There's always two sides to every story, and of course in Spare we're only hearing Harry's side of the story. I don't think it's true that William doesn't sort of have emotions, that he's very cool and aloof, and that he wouldn't have understood why Harry welled up and why Harry got emotional. But Harry is an emotional man, and I think, well, I don't know because I'm not in his head, but when he comes over here and does these trips to the UK, I know it must be. I mean, flying into rainy Heathrow or wherever he's flown into, and the weather is dire in the UK at the moment, but he's used to that. It must hit him just how much he's left behind, how much he's given up in his quest for a new life and in his decision to leave the royals and stand down as a working royal. I mean, it's involved huge sacrifice. I mean, the fact is he'll be, if he does stay overnight, if he doesn't get a flight straight home in the early hours of Tuesday morning, he doesn't have his own residence here anymore. He doesn't have a home here anymore. And I think it must hit him, it must hit him pretty hard. And the fact that he's not able to pick up the phone to his brother or to his sister-in-law, who, both gone through a really terrible time this year, it's well, it would take a toughened heart to not feel that. And one thing we do know about Harry is, he's an emotional person.
Very good point. You talked about them not having a residence there, a bit, a sanctuary. Now, this is a story that I consider kind of ludicrous, but we're going to talk about it. According to Sky News,
talk about it anyway.
According to Sky News Australia, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been offered use of Princess Diana's childhood home, Althorp, as a new temporary UK base following their eviction, which I think is an aggressive word, from Frogmore Cottage. Now set on 1,300 acres, Althorp contains 28 listed buildings and structures, in addition to the main house, which I've got to tour one day. I'm desperate to see it, but it's never open whenever I'm over there. The report claims Althorp could become a secure temporary location for Harry and his family if they decide to return to Britain. They mentioned that Earl Spencer promised at the funeral of his sister, Princess Diana, to constantly look after his nephews. However, I've actually seen the Earl openly admit in recent years that his family did not actually have as much influence as he alluded to during that fiery speech. In addition to offering the Sussexes use of Althorp as a base, the article claims that Earl Spencer is trying to mediate between Harry and Prince William behind the scenes. And I mean, to that I say, Earl Spencer is not speaking to half of his children. What are the odds truly that he is inserting himself in this? Is this just somebody trying to stir the Spencer versus Windsor pot all over again?
Well, I don't think Earl Spencer's leaving Althorp anytime soon, so I don't think Althorp is going to become the Sussex's permanent base. That said, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Earl Spencer's extended an invitation to Harry and Meghan should they wish to come over to the UK. I mean, there were those rumours that they might want to come over at Christmas, and I think Earl Spencer's invited them to stay there. So I do think Harry has a close relationship with his uncle and with his aunts, Sarah and Jane, Diana's sisters. I think the Spencers have really made a point of keeping that relationship with Harry close. And I think given Harry's own relationship with his own family, he's very grateful to have those links to his mother's side of the family and of course to the UK. But I think any suggestion that Althorp could become their sort of UK base on a permanent basis is wide of the mark. But as I say, there is contact with the Spencer family. There is a closeness between Harry and his aunt and his uncles and his cousins on the Spencer side as well.
And really quickly, before I let you go, according to the Daily Mail, Prince Harry stayed, at least last night, at a central London hotel just 2 miles from Buckingham Palace, less than an hour's drive from Windsor, where Prince William lives. Do you suspect, because we saw this during the Invictus visit, when Prince Harry was there to celebrate the 10 years of Invictus, do you suspect that tit for tat briefing about why Prince Harry didn't stay at a royal residence? Was he invited to stay somewhere with somebody else chiming in? Actually, he wasn't invited to stay somewhere. I felt like that really kind of hijacked the Invictus headlines last time, one of the last times Prince Harry was in town, because it should have been all about 10 years of Invictus, but we had King Charles invited you to stay here, you rejected it. Then Harry's team.
Well, then the story's taken a bit of a different spin, hasn't it? In that it's more like Charles has snubbed Harry because Charles is staying up in Scotland, and therefore there's not going to be a chance meeting. I mean, yes, I think it's inevitable, Kinsey, isn't it, that whenever Harry's over here, however good the cause is, whether it's Invictus, whether it's Wellchild, and these are brilliant causes and incredible work he's doing, no one can take that away from him. The fact that there's this big rift within the family, the fact that he doesn't have a home here, there's always going to be a question mark over, is he going to see a member of his family? Will he see his brother? Will he see his father? and where's he going to stay? Well, he's certainly not, out on the streets. He'll be, as you know, so he stayed at a very nice hotel, and whether or not he stays this evening, we'll wait and see. I suspect he'll be leaving and on his way to LA pretty soon. But I just think it's impossible to almost sort of have a story about Harry coming to the UK without it involving the fact that he's here with no contact with his family. I mean, it's the elephant in the room.
Very good point. Yeah, I agree with you that he's probably going to come back as quickly as possible because he's been gone since New York. I mean, I'm
He's
sure
been
that
to
he
New
misses.
York. He's going to want to get, of course, he's going to want to get back to his wife, to his children. He's had a really successful run of it in New York. I mean, I think it's interesting, isn't it? We've sort of seen this burst of activity by Harry and solo Harry. Meghan's not over here on this trip either, and she has in the past supported him at Well Child. So there's just a sense that he's driving this on his own. And I think he's here, he's standing on his own 2 feet, doing something that he's passionate about. He probably knows he's not the most welcome person in Britain, not least by his family. I think, a lot of the British public feel, well, if you're always moaning about Britain and the press and everything else, why bother coming back? But he does come back. He bothers coming back because these are things he really cares about. And he'll put personal differences, vendettas, fallouts, family feuds aside to be here for an evening like tonight because it matters to him.
Perfect. All right. If you agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend that loves the royal family too. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you again soon.